Good afternoon, everyone. Before my presentation, I actually want to show you a video first. Let's go.
Meet Atypica, the AI built on the subjective world model. Most AI is built to replace humans, automate a task, eliminate a role. We built AI to understand humans. What if you could build a digital twin of a user, understand how they think, behave, and decide, and why? We built the subjective world model, the first foundation model that understands how people actually think, based on 1 million real users. 4 layers: expression, story, cognition, and behavior. It starts with expression, how people present themselves. We analyzed millions of social media posts, language style, emotional patterns, identity signals. Then, deeper. Story, how people explain themselves. Tens of thousands of hour-long depth interviews. This is where motivation lives. Deeper still. Cognition, how people actually decide. Risk preferences, cognitive biases, value hierarchies, the hidden operating system. And finally, behavior, what people actually do under real constraints. Economic experiments, real transactions, long-term decision patterns. What people say and what they do are often different. It's a model that captures the complexity and contradiction of a user.
I think most of the AI that we probably heard is actually the AI that replaces human. It's about efficiency, optimization, and make things work much easier. But I think business is not just about optimization. Business is also about creating needs. So AI should not just be in the supply side. It should also help the demand side. That's why we build the AI agent that not just to replace human being, replace the work, is actually try to help us understand better our underneath needs. So we train this, we call it subjective world model. We use world model to simulate the physical world. Can we use the world model, the same methodology, to model the subjective world? 4 different layers: expression, story, cognition, and behavior. Imagine, just like my wife, she always says she's a very rational consumer. So she purchases things based on the value instead of the brand. But whenever it goes to the kids' education, she just spends whatever money she has. That's the contradiction of a human behavior. What you say doesn't mean what you do. So we built this subjective world model to really capture this kind of complexity and contradiction. Why it is important for business? This is an AI conference, AI event, but I'm quoting someone spoke 70 years ago, Peter Drucker. He said, there's only one valid definition of business purpose, is to create consumer. I think we are talking too much about how to increase the efficiency, lower the cost, but we talk very little about what consumers need. What consumer needs in a world that's ever-changing. So we built this, we call consumer agent platform that based on the subjective world model, we train every 6 months. And on top of that, based on the different sort of data input from industry, from business, from brands, we can do a digital twin for that industry, for that brand. We call it AI personas. And then all these AI personas aggregate together to come up with AI panels, and then we can do a lot of interviews with them. I think in a world of over-influence of data, we're not lack of data. There's no scarcity of data. There's a scarcity of insights, ideas, big imaginations. So I think it's the time we go back to see how all these user interviews, qualitative research can help us to capture the future of what human needs. And the result, we can do consumer insight, we can do user testing, we can do pricing, we can do co-creation workshop. Even a group of developers use subjective world model to predict the market of polymarkets, to make the bets. Because a lot of investments, a lot of bets on the poly market is based on the vibe. So what we try to do is instead of making all the consumer understanding as one project after another, as the research, PowerPoints, and all those sort of data sit in the drawers, we try to build a capability for the companies, for the users. So you can run a 24/7 user interview and user insight always. And how is that going to help our business? I'm using the second part of the quote from Peter Drucker. He said, because it is the purpose to create a consumer, any business enterprise has two and only two basic functions: marketing and innovation. And the rest are all costs. So marketing and innovation. Let me show you two use cases. One is from this chocolate company, and they're using Atypica, they're using subjective world model actually to do 24/7 product innovation. Let's see this video. So in this case, the subjective world model runs at the back end. And so the brand can do a 24/7 user understanding, getting the signals, voice of customers, their competitors' consumer insights from endless. And then all this consumer insight can go into a pipeline and start to generate different product ideas. Well, this company still use email quite frequently. So the AI will send an email to the team. If without an answer in 24 hours, then the AI will run a user test again. And the user test based on the subjective world model. And then the user, the digital twin of the user, will give the answer and feedbacks. And then to go to the next stage, which is product R&D. So for this kind of company, every year, compared with 2 years ago, they need to have 10 times more products, new products, for more and more fragmented market, supply chain, more and more fragmented consumer groups. So this whole process runs at the back end. And I asked the team, I asked the product R&D guys, what do you think of the result? They said it's 70 out of 100. It's not perfect, it's 70 out of 100. So before they spend a lot of time to do 0 to 70, and now AI runs at the back end to do the 0 to 70, and humans start from the 70 and to make it perfect. So as you can see, here are a few numbers. Before, they spend 2 or 3 months on one product, now 3 days. And starting from last quarter of 2025, they are now having 6 times more products and 80% cut in terms of product innovation cost. One case I feel very proud of, this year is the year of horse in Chinese New Year. And then what they produce, the horse year package, is actually through this AI agent. Instead of just doing a horse chocolate, it's a mahjong chocolate. It's actually generated through this AI agent. Every day, this agent is working at the back end, to do product ideas, to test products, and then to go to market endlessly. And one more thing, you have to do marketing, right? And now the problem is that the scarcity is not the product, it's not the ideas. Actually, scarcity is about the attention. We're lack of attention. So any brand not just need one brand message. It needs 1,000 different voices. Selling a chocolate probably needs to have more than 30 different voices before you actually do the purchasing. So what we try to do here is using subjective world model to simulate a lot of personas representing different social accounts. So you will see different personalities. If it's a college, fourth-year college student, in her social account, she will worry about finding a job. So all these stories based on the personas. And then we make a metrics of all these personas to represent what they are thinking, what they're talking about. And then we use artificial intelligence to understand the content based on all these personas. So they are able actually to see what kind of content is suitable for what kind of personalities. So we're tagging them. So it's not just tagging, there's a cup, there's a bottle, there's a product. It's actually the personality tag. And last but not least, we learn from the best, right? We build attention model to focus on different kind of consumer personalities. So we understand what sort of a consumer want to see and combine the attention model with the subjective world model together and adding the flavor of a lot of the content assets together so that we are able to produce hundreds of unique videos, social content, social posts based on the different personality of different accounts.
Pro, the proactive agent.
And so that this agent runs just like your content marketing co-pilot or staff. When you sleep, it starts working, right? Every day, it starts to collect what's popular in terms of the topic. It starts to build on its own persona, making up the stories, and it finds the relevant sort of assets and aggregate them together. So when you wake up, start working at 8:30, you already have a lot of content ready. So I think this is a very interesting way to think about how to go to market. Instead of doing one content and buy a lot of media, you actually can do hundreds of content, like a brand with 1,000 different voices every day. So even though you miss 10%, even 99% of the attention, you still get something that hit on the consumer's mind. So this is the one company that sells the cell phone. They actually operates on 700 social accounts in Southeast Asia. And for the first month, you actually get 1.2 billion exposures, and with zero media cost. So all our videos, all are the 700 different personas that representing this brand, first party, second party, and third party voices. So the company name that I'm representing is called MUSE. We have consumer insight, we have content marketing, product innovation, and in the base level, it would be the context layer for the whole brand. And we're working with a lot of consumer goods company, both big companies and smaller ones. But the idea for us is very simple. We don't just want AI to be about the supply side, faster, cheaper, and more. It should not just be about optimization. We want to understand better the demand. We want to create the demand, create the understanding of the demand. And we are invested by some of the investors. And of course, how to find us? If you log on the Wi-Fi here, the password is called withmuse.ai. That's our website. And I really hope to have the opportunity to work with all of you guys. Thank you very much.